Hello, everyone, and welcome to the EduSnap 16 launch party round number 2. Thank you to everyone for joining us. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. My name is Sarah Thomas, and I'm the founder of EduMatch. And here we have all of our awesome contributing authors to the EduMatch Snapshot in Education, EduSnap 16. So, just an FYI, everyone in order with their chapter. Let me go through here. So chapter 1, we have Shower Gems by yours truly. Chapter 2, we have Going Beyond the Walls by Tia Simmons, who will hopefully join us. Chapter 3, we have Blended Learning, How and Why It Works by Rochelle Dean Post, who is in the house with us. Chapter 4, we have A Year in the Life of STEM by Rachel J. Pearson. Chapter 5, Paperless Innovation by Bradford Harris, who is in the house. Chapter 6, the 4 indispensable aspects of education. So Robert was not able to join us for round 2, but we will see him again shortly in some future events. Chapter 7, integrating world languages into project-based service learning experiences, Tracy Brady. Chapter 8, student-centered assessment by Ray Wood, who is also in the house. All right. Chapter 9, the student-driven classroom, Dean Gainey, he is in the house. Chapter 10, Empowering Students and by Jody Moskowitz, who is in the house. Chapter 11, My Year of Yes, Nicole Taylor in the house. Chapter 12, It's Not About Me by Stephanie Filardo. Chapter 13, Shifting the Culture to Embrace Change, a roller coaster approach to education with Christy Kate, who is in the house. Chapter 14, All I Really Need to Know About Professional Development I Learned at Camp by Leslie R. Fagan in the house. Chapter 15, Why Ed Camps Are the New Professional Development by Nicole R. Howard, PhD, and yours truly. Chapter 16, Invest in Yourself and Your Students by Demetrius Ball in the house. Chapter 17, Going Beyond the Scope, Valerie Lewis. She's scheduled to join us, so hopefully we do see Valerie. Chapter 18, The Schleider Method of Twitter by Justin Schleider. Chapter 19, EduMatch PLN by Ronald A. Madison. Chapter 20, The Power of Connecting Communities and Families, Jason Allen, who may be joining us a little later. Chapter 21, One Brutal's Teacher's Journey to Passionate Teaching by Tammy Neal, who is in the house. And chapter 22, Those Magical Moments, just closing it out by me. So definitely wanted to welcome everyone. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us. So this book that we've come together to make is available as a free PDF download from our website, edumatch.org. It's also available, as you can see, in paperback versions in full color or in black and white, as well as on Kindle from Amazon. So you can just Google it and find it or Amazon it. All right. So what we're going to do is that we are going to go in order. For the most part, we might make some tweaks along the way, but we're going to go pretty much in order, and each author is going to take the hot seat. So we're going to start things out first with Rochelle. Hey, Rochelle. All right, how you doing today?
I'm good. I guess that's the meaning of the hot seat, right? You're not really sure when it's coming, and there it is. Exactly. I'm good. I'm glad.
Boom, there it is, right?
Yep, there it
is. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my name's Rochelle Hoth. I am a foreign language and STEAM teacher in a school outside of Pittsburgh, and I'm a few weeks shy, I think, of being there officially for 20 years. When I first started, it was just like a part-time, and then it evolved into full-time. So I've been there 20 years, teaching French, Spanish, STEAM, emerging technology to students in grades 7 through 12. I just recently got my master's degree in instructional technology. I also picked up a law degree along the way because I really love learning. And so I got really involved in technology. Over the course of the past probably 10 years, just trying to connect with my students and find better ways for them to learn. So that's kind of what got me to where I am here today.
That is awesome, Rochelle. So what inspired you to become an educator?
Well, truth be told, when I was little, I was an only child, and a lot of times I would come home from school and I played school and would I had a cousin who lived next door, so she would come over and we would make tests and do things like that. And as I got older, I really liked helping people. I learned French in high school. I did really well with it. And so I would tutor my friends. And I just like that feeling of using knowledge that I had and helping somebody else, like in the right way, not like, here's my homework or anything like that, but just trying to explain things. And that's just something that kind of stayed with me. I also come from a family that has different people who are involved in different areas of education. I have an uncle who's a school psychologist, guidance counselor, English teacher, French teacher, you name it. So it's kind of been in the family. And through college at Penn State, I was studying French, and I thought I'd go into business, but things changed. And finally, my junior year, the counselor said, you kind of have to declare a major. And so we looked at what I had interest in, and it ended up being that it was education. And I thought, I'll give it a shot, see how it goes, if I like it. And 24, almost 25 years later, here I am.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. So in your chapter, then, just wanted to see exactly how you got the idea to write about blended learning.
Well, it is something that I don't want to say I fell into, but it was a period of like an aha moment, I guess I'll call it, about 3 or 4 years ago, because I was having students do some assignments outside of the classroom and showing videos and having them come back, and I wanted to talk about it. And I thought, like, yeah, that's great. We don't have to use the time in class. They can watch it. We can come back and use that class time to connect. And I was finding out that, like, they weren't necessarily watching the videos. They were either fast forwarding or asking their friends or getting information somewhere else. So that was one thing that was a problem. Another thing was that students would have questions at the end of the day or in the evening, and they couldn't connect with me. So all of these things over the period of a semester break, I thought, like, what's out there that I can do that can change, that can make it a little bit better for them and for me? Because it's, I want to hold them accountable, but it starts with me. So I did some research and found some things from messaging app, an LMS, some different tools that were more like towards accountability, to have the students complete things like, for example, completing an activity on Quizlet, where when they're logged into the class, I can track that. And not that I wanted to catch them in doing anything like incorrectly or anything. I just wanted that accountability on both sides. So the idea for my chapter came about really from the inspiration from my students over the past couple of years, looking at them, asking them, involving them in the conversations, like what works, what doesn't work. They're really tolerant and supportive because they know that I read a lot, do a lot of like trying things out, and I'm anxious for that. So they're always ready to try these things in class. So my idea came from really just my thoughts of how I got started integrating more technology, moving it into like a blending or flipped, geez, I just made up a new word, a flipped learning environment, and some tools that you could, start with, some actionable steps that you could take to start off if you haven't done anything like that yet, or if you're looking to change things up a little bit.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So do you have some kind of anecdote that didn't make it to your chapter that you could share with us?
Oh, I always have anecdotes. I can always add more. Just probably personal stories. Like the one thing that I would add, and I'll just say it right now, is there are a couple pictures of my students in the chapters, and there's a tech conference that happens in Pittsburgh every fall, and I've submitted proposals. And this year, I wasn't really sure that I was going to, but over the summer, I thought about submitting one to have the students lead instead, because I thought, like, that was the next logical step. Like, I teach them, they teach each other, they teach other people. So I submitted the proposal. I didn't really know what students would do it or anything. And there's a picture of the 3 students that did it in my chapter. And it was fantastic. I said, pick whatever tools you find that are most beneficial. We collaborated on a Google presentation, and they went in, the room was packed, they led it, they taught how to use these tools, and it was like fabulous. And I know I'm telling the story now, but that's just those little stories. And then they've given me some feedback, on a personal note. And it's just some of those things, like, it's one thing to hear from a teacher to a teacher, educator to educator, but when the students are the ones who are teaching and leading, like, that hadn't been done, and everybody was like, wow. So it got me to thinking that at our next, our state conference coming up in February, where I have a session on flipped learning, they're leading it. So I'm looking forward to that, and they are too, which is exciting. I like that, taking that step back.
Awesome.
Plans for the future is...
Oh, yes. Yes. Speaking of your plans for the future, what do you have on deck for 2017?
Well, I will be seeing Tammy in Orlando. Anybody else going? FETC, FETC, I never know what to say. Ours in February is called Pete and C. What else? Nearpod Pioneer Summit and ISTE for sure. And who knows, whatever else pops up, anything related to EduMatch, I know that for sure with this great group. I'm not going to miss out on any of that stuff.
That is awesome. So excited to see what 2017 has to bring for you. You are killing it. So loving hearing all of the great things that you are doing. So yeah, and I see you have your book. All right, fantastic.
Thank you.
All right, excellent. So that was great hearing from Rochelle. So what we will do now is that we're going to go to Tia. So Tia, you ready to rock?
As I take it off of mute, yes.
All right, awesome. Well, welcome, Tia. Tia is the author of Chapter 2, Going Beyond the Walls. Very happy to have you here. So tell us about yourself, Tia.
Thank you. I hope everyone can see me because all of a sudden my phone just went kaput on the video. So my name is Tia Simmons, and I work for the technology training team for Prince George's County Public Schools. I get the awesome honor and privilege to work with Sarah every day. She sits literally behind me in our office. And basically I go around from school to school and work with administrators, teachers, students, which I love, in integrating technology into the curriculum and their everyday activities. And then in my free time, which I know we all have, I get the awesome honor of being wife and mom of two, a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old going on 20. So y'all just pray for us, sisters.
All right, awesome. So I have the honor of sitting behind you. So very, very awesome to have you here. So what inspired you to be an educator, Tia?
So it probably was my very first real understanding of what it means to be a teacher and what it means to be in a classroom. And I have to give credit to two very special people in my life. And the first was my 3rd grade teacher, who really took the time to not just teach me curriculum and content, but to make sure that I understood it, to make sure that it was something that was applicable to me, that was personal to me, and not just here's what 2 + 2 or 2 × 2 means, but here's how we use it in our everyday life. So definitely my 3rd grade teacher who took the time to make learning personal. And I think that was a drive for me because I love personal growth. I'm all about personal growth and professional development. And then the other person was my father, who would take what I learned in the classroom and apply that also in everyday scenarios. So we would go to the grocery store and we would see, a can of Campbell's soup and no name brand, and we would see the price, and he'd say, okay, this is 3 for $99, this is 3 for 89 cents, which one is the better buy? And we were always kind of applying some of those concepts in just our everyday experiences, whether we were at a parade or the grocery store. So between those two people, they really kind of set the stage and the scene and ignited the fire in me for just professional, not even that time professional, but just personal growth. And then once I got a little bit older, deciding I wanted to take the plunge and become an educator and work with children and adults.
All right. Loved reading about your experiences at the grocery store with your father. That was awesome. So how did you get the idea for your chapter and for Beyond the Walls?
So the idea probably came a little more closely to home. And actually, I'm going to switch the camera if you don't mind. I don't know if you guys can see on the table behind me. But my son is playing with the iPad, and he's playing with a game called Osmo. And so just watching him grow, he's only 7, but a lot changes in technology over the years. And just watching his experience with technology and realizing that in order for me to communicate effectively with him and to teach him, I've got to talk his language. And so I swear that both of my children, no lie guys, were probably born with an iPad or an iPhone in their hand. Like, I think they came out the womb with devices in their hand. but just watching them interact with the devices so seamlessly. Whereas for me, growing up and getting older, learning what a pager was and learning how to use some of these older technologies, realizing that in order for me to engage him and to keep him engaged, I've got to speak his language, which means I have to take some of those opportunities and things that he learns in his classroom and to be able to use technology to extend those opportunities beyond those walls. And so just kind of watching him grow and develop, and just knowing our students being 21st century learners, understanding that they talk technology a lot more than we do as adults. And so in order to not only extend what they're learning in class, but extend it in their language. And so from that, I was like, you know what, this is a really good kind of prompt for a chapter. And that's kind of what got me going.
That is awesome, Tia. That is awesome, awesome, awesome. So your house looks beautiful, by the way. Gotta say that.
I can't see anything, so I'm like, I'm not showing in my dirty kitchen.
No, we are all commenting on how beautiful your kitchen is.
Thanks, guys.
But okay. So do you have an anecdote that didn't make it to your chapter?
You know, it's funny. As I was writing the chapter and thinking about those times my dad would take me to the grocery store and we would go through. I remember this one time we went on a parade, and my dad, being the mathematician and math brother that he is, wanted me to guesstimate how long it would take for the end of the parade to come. So we were actually timing in between the floats. I know it sounds crazy, right? We're just supposed to be watching the parade. But we would be timing in between the floats and then kind of looking down to see if we could see the end. And at one point I just got really frustrated, and it kind of reminded me of those, you know, math problems, like if the train A is leaving the station at 12 noon and train B is leaving at 4:30 and they're traveling at this speed, what time when they get there? And I just be like, I don't know. They'll arrive when they get there. So just thinking back to those stories as I was kind of writing that chapter made me think about that.
Absolutely. Oh, those word problems, they get you every time. So what's something that you have on your radar for 2017? I know it's going to be a fantastic year for TechTia, but what are some of the things that you have in store?
Well, definitely to continue to collaborate with these wonderful co-authors that I've had the opportunity to kind of get to know and to meet through this project, to stay connected with EduMatch, of course, and to continue to work with connecting other educators, but also kind of taking this premise behind this chapter about taking learning beyond the walls of the classroom and really kind of turning it into, I don't know, a movement or a campaign of sorts, maybe, just to really get teachers to begin thinking about changing some of our practices in terms of providing content to our students who are online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I really like to kind of ramp up this chapter and make it a little bit more than a chapter, maybe a couple of chapters a book. I don't know, no promises, Sarah, before you start holding me to stuff. But definitely to just kind of work with teachers to develop professionally and to have the opportunity to learn different tools and information to help them do that.
That is awesome. Definitely cannot wait to see what 2017 has in store for you. So keep up the great work and just keep us posted on everything, that all the great things that you are doing. So thank you for joining us. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to fast forward a little bit, and we are going to go to chapter 5, where we're going to be talking about paperless innovation with Bradford Harris. So Brad, how are you doing today?
Okay. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing great, thank you. How's 2017 treating you so far?
2017 is great. We all made it through the new year. So healthy, happy, well rested. That 2 weeks that we had for break. I don't know if everybody had 2 weeks off, but that 2 weeks that I had for break, Ray's shaking her head. I well rested. I had some time to just reflect and just rest and spend time with family. So it was really good.
That is awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Brad.
Well, I am a husband and a father of 2 great kids. One is a freshman in high school, so y'all need to pray for me for that. I'm trying to get through it. And one is in 8th grade, and I have a wonderful wife that holds me down and helps keep it real for me. I am an instructional technology specialist in Texas, in the Aldine Independent School District, and I have been doing that. This is my 4th year doing that. And before that, I was a science and social studies teacher.
Awesome. So what inspired you to get into education?
Well, actually, in the beginning, I didn't want to be in education at all because my mother, she was a speech pathologist. She was a diagnostician. And so when you are a child of a parent who's in education and you see kind of the back end of what goes on, and they come home and naturally they tell their horror stories about, oh my God, this is what went on today with Miss So-and-so or the kids or this, and they come home with papers and you're looking like, oh my God, you're doing homework for the rest of your life. I don't want to do that. It really just fell into my lap when I got older and got out of school, and I had my daughter, and she was, her fine and gross motor skills were getting behind, and so a doctor suggested someone come in and kind of help her. And so someone would come in maybe once or twice a week and kind of help her with her fine and gross motor skills. And I would just ask all these questions because I just didn't know, like, how do we communicate with her? How do we build her stamina with certain things? And she would give us some tips, and I would just ask her some educational stuff on the back end. And I was just amazed, at the growth my daughter was getting at home. And so I started looking into getting my teacher certification because I was just so fascinated about children and growing. So it wasn't until I had my daughter that I started getting into education, and I loved it ever since.
Wow, that is a powerful, powerful story. So how did you get the idea for your chapter about paperless, about the paperless innovation?
Well, it started, a year or 2 years ago. I was going to my Technology State conference, and I was sitting with a friend of mine. We were in one of those software sessions, and we were just looking at what this tool does. We were familiar with the tool, but when you go to these tech conferences, you don't realize that this tool can do all these extra things that you take for granted. Some tools that you look at face value, like watching a video and then having the kids do an assignment on it. But in reality, the tool can do so much stuff. Like it can literally, someone can literally like give you an assignment and grade it for you. You don't even think about all those things. Well, as I'm sitting and talking to my friend, I'm thinking, well, we have all this stuff in our district. Our district spends thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on all of this stuff, and we only use it at face value. We don't really dig in deep to see like what the tool can really do. And sometimes these tools are used for students A or students B, and maybe it's not just used in a regular ed classroom, and it can be. And so as I was sitting talking to my friend, I'm literally writing an email. I guess this was about 12 o'clock, and I'm still in the session. I'm not even paying attention to what the presenter is talking about. I'm just so excited because a light bulb just went in my head. And so I'm sitting in email. I'm chatting with my director. I'm chatting with my online coordinator saying, hey, I have this idea of going paperless. And the first thing that they said was naturally no. For all y'all that know, when we come up with an idea and we talk to somebody that's ahead of us, the first thing they're going to say is no, because I guess that's just the easiest thing to say because their heads are wrapped around other things right now. And so I didn't take no for an answer. And one of the things that my friend always told me was always have a plan B underway. Always expect that no, because they want you to do more research. They want you to come back with something else. So we did. And finally, my director said, okay, let's try it. Who do you want to try it with? The teacher's got to be strong. The teacher's got to be this, and this. And I said, okay. I got my principal involved. The first question was asked was, well, are we going to use, the above level kids or the gifted and talented kids? And we were saying no, because we already know the buy-in with the gifted and talented kids, the above level kids and their parents, it's going to be 100%. And so the data is not going to really show anything. So what if we get kids who are misbehaving, who are ESL, who come from all these different backgrounds, who maybe they are misbehaved kids, but wow, look at their state scores. What if we put them in this group of kids? How would they grow? So we had a mixture of kids. You have to get the counselor involved because of scheduling. You have to get a whole bunch of people involved just for this one pilot group to see if it will work, and they'll travel from class to class. And so we had several meetings, and people had several questions about, what is this going to look like? Is it going to look like a computer lab? No, it's not going to look like a computer lab, number one, because we're purchasing Chromebooks, and we don't want to go one-to-one. We want to do a 2-to-1 method to where the students and the teachers are collaborating and communicating and creating stuff together. Because we found that if you, at least in our district, if it looks like everybody has a digital device, it may look like a computer lab, and nobody's going to understand when you go into the class how they are communicating and collaborating. So we decided to do a half set of Chromebooks. We wanted to make sure the teacher had a good, nice, strong Wi-Fi, a smart board, which she already had in the room already. So, and then we didn't plan a curriculum or anything. I let the teacher kind of pretty much do her thing, still be strong in her curriculum. If she had any questions, I'm right next door to her. We would collaborate and come up with some ideas. And we just really went on from there. Nothing really changed except for we put devices in the room. We looked at the programs that were offered in the district, and we looked at some other things too. And we really just let the teacher and the kids be creative and go at it.
That is awesome, Brad. Wow, what a transformation. So what's on your radar for 2017?
Oh my goodness, what's on my radar? Well, working with you guys in any way I can. I'm also a member of the Urban Ed Chat that chats on Thursday nights. So I'm working with a great person with that who's also in my state. So we chat on every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time. I'm also the head chairman of my district technology conference that will be in October. So I'm trying to get things together for that. I'm working on that right now. I'm helping out with some other events as well, and going to ed camps and just still helping and growing my campus.
All right. Well, that is awesome. Definitely keep up the great work. We look forward to hearing more about your journey in 2017. And thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to go to Chapter 8 with student-centered assessment. So we have Ray on deck. Hey, Ray.
Hey.
How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Doing well. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a third grade teacher currently. I have taught everything from second to sixth grade. I've avoided K1, thank goodness. They're cute. They love me. They think I'm awesome. I'm like, you stay over there. But currently I have third graders, and it's my second year with third grade, and I just love them. They're so much fun. I have 3 daughters. One is 21. She's in college to become a social worker. And then my younger 2 are a freshman and an 8th grader. So keep me on my toes. And of course, I have a beautiful little grandson. He's my favorite. He's my only boy, so I just love him.
Aw, and I love seeing the pictures of him on Facebook. He is such a cutie. All right, great. So what brought you into the field of education? What inspired you to become an educator?
Well, when I was in 2nd grade, I had a teacher, and she made learning so much fun. And I wanted to be like her. And I remember she had us do these journals, and I wrote in my journal one day. She asked me to read it to the whole class. And I said, I want to grow up to be a teacher just like Mrs. Black. But then I had my oldest when I was in high school, and I was like, I can't possibly be a teacher. Like, I can't afford this. So I went to business school, and I absolutely hated it. It was stupid. Don't ever go into business school. It's really boring. And then when I met my husband, and I kind of told him, I really wanted to be a teacher, and he's like, well, then you have to be a teacher. So right after we got married, I went back to school. So I was older. I had all my kids because I had my youngest two while I was in school to become a teacher. So by the time that I started teaching, I had already had kids. I lived, I was 28. So it was just different. And I feel like my parenting experiences and some of the real life experiences I had before I started teaching just make me a better teacher because I see things differently that younger teachers may not see just because they haven't lived it yet.
That's a good point. I know that we've had that conversation about teaching experience and how we've grown over the years. So fantastic. So how did you get the idea for your chapter?
Well, some of you know I am a doctoral student, and one of my classes was on student-centered assessment. And we read a book called Leaders of Their Own Learning, which I do reference in my chapter. And it just really inspired me that how come in my inner city urban school, we have this group of children who just aren't going where they need to be going. And then Dean and I, hey Dean, we joined up together and did a session in the Ed Camp over July about student-centered assessment, and it just grew out of that. In fact, a lot of what ended up in my chapter came directly from that chat.
Wow, fantastic. That is awesome. So do you have an anecdote or any story that you have that did not make it to your chapter?
I don't think so. A lot of what I actually put in there was what I wanted in there. I think for me, the biggest thing since writing it and seeing it published is just continuing to move myself forward to make sure that I'm being better. And so I think if I were to write it again now, having done it, kind of lived it a little bit, I would actually put some personal anecdotes in there because there aren't a lot, just because it was more based on the conversation that we had during Ed Camp. But I think for me right now, like, I'm really cognizant of what I say to my kids and how I say it and how I present rubrics and things to them because of the work that we did in this Ed Camp group and then through the chapter, because we really do need to put the kids in the driver's seat.
That's so true. Definitely putting the kids in the driver's seat and giving them that control. Absolutely. So what can we expect to see from you in 2017?
Well, definitely going to be focusing on that doctorate and the dissertation phase. It's got to get done. God willing, it's going to get done in 2017. But I will definitely be attending a Teacher Power Schools conference at the end of this month in California. My goal, really, hopefully, if I can get this dissertation done in 2017, is to really then move forward with opening my own teacher-led school here in West Michigan. So cross your fingers on that for me. But I probably won't do a ton of conferences just because I really want to focus on finishing those things. But I do have a couple books in my head that I just need to write down on paper. So God willing, if I have enough time, one of those might make it through 2017 as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's going to be a great year full of all kinds of awesomeness. So definitely looking forward to hearing more about your journey. So thank you so much for joining us today, Ray.
You bet.
All right. So let me see. Going next to the Student-Driven Classroom by Dean Gainey. So Dean, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing, Sarah?
Doing great, thanks. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am in my 11th year as an educator, and I have 3 hats that I wear at my school. And first and foremost is being an ELA teacher. I also teach gifted students as a gifted coordinator / teacher, and also technology as well. I am, of several talents: singing, songwriting, acting, definitely being the arts, and as well as a veteran of the United States Air Force as well. And so kind of all of that together is who I am and sort of what I bring, I guess, to the classroom and with my students.
That is awesome. And many of us enjoyed your Periscopes leading up to the holidays with the songs in the morning. Awesome, awesome stuff. And you have those available on YouTube, right?
Yes, indeed. I actually compiled them all into a YouTube channel. So there's a link for that is available to watch those or rewatch those. That was a fun experience. I didn't think I knew that many Christmas songs, but hey, came around, and thanks to Ron Madison and his track making, and then of course some suggestions from EduMatchers. It was fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. So definitely brightened up our morning. So what inspired you to become an educator?
It's interesting because many people have mentioned how they've been inspired by an educator. And my first grade teacher, her name was Enid K. Sweeting, and she, every time I think about her, I think about the ways in which she demonstrated how much she cared about each individual person in her classroom. And so she is the reason why I am an educator today. In fact, she is the reason why I write so neatly. She had very high expectations of me and every other student in her class. And she's very organized, and I gleaned a lot from her. And so much so that I would go back and help her every year after I left her class in first grade until I graduated high school, every year. And so ended up graduating with like a ton of volunteer hours, community service hours for that. But she meant a lot, and that's why I teach today.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. So how did you get the idea for your chapter about the student-driven classroom?
Well, in my 11 years or 10 years before this one, being able to teach a diverse group of students and seeing, as I taught, I identified that the needs of students are diverse as well. And I think it's important to be able to meet the students where they need. And I think in addition to that, I think meaningful learning is important. And I think that students are more prone or more willing to learn something if they could see and understand the meaning behind what they're learning. And I certainly think that our plans as teachers, and I know it's important, the planning process, we spend a lot of our time doing that, but sometimes plans don't necessarily meet the needs of the students that we have in the class at the present time. So I believe that as a teacher, we need to do what works for them. And so that's where the idea of the student-driven classroom came from, because really it's all about them in the long run anyway. I mean, that's the bottom line. We are there for them. And so that could mean several different things, because it depends on the students, but they should be the driving force behind what we do.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. They are definitely, they definitely should have a say in what they are learning. Absolutely. So the next question for you, what's an anecdote that you have that may not have made it to your chapter?
Well, okay. So there's a quote that I included in my chapter, and I'll start with that because I think it's very, very important. And it's by Doda. The author's last name is Doda. He said that we as educators become locked into plans that close doors on student motivation, interest, and engagement. And so relating that back to the previous question, I probably should have said it then, but I think that 75% of my job is to motivate those kids. That's my own personal philosophy, because once I can do that, I can, everything else is easy. So as far as an anecdote per se, I know that because I've taught so many diverse students in so many diverse situations or schools, and being the artsy kind of singer, songwriter, or whatever, I would love to write a song that could be reflective of the different students, different classrooms, different schools that I've taught. And I don't know, maybe that'll be on the next album.
Oh, we can't wait for that. That's going to be awesome. So what's on your radar for 2017?
Well, let me first say I'm extremely excited about all the EduMatch has done with the creation of this book. It's unreal, the seamless progression from start to finish, and how this all came to be. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, that didn't happen. And I know it did because I'm looking at it. I mean, I'm holding this thing in my hand. I'm like, really? So it's exciting, and I think that has started a fire. It's a flame and it's growing. And so it has inspired me to continue to write. And I will continue to collaborate as well as focus on my own writing as well, and that in the form of literature as well as songwriting. So that's definitely on the radar. As far as, continuing to grow and develop, I love ed camps. I started last year, going to continue doing that, and just really finding myself around people that pull on you and inspire you and motivate you and keep you searching after knowledge, because really, one of the things I say in the chapter as well, what good are we if we stop learning? Our students will no longer be able to really benefit from what we do if we stop. So learning is something that I believe to be happening all the time. And so that's definitely on my radar. As far as the kids and what I'm doing with them, I'm really trying to rid paper, go paperless as much as I can. I'm trying to integrate technology as much as I can. I'm trying to get parents involved, and they need to know, and they're hungry. They want to know what their kids are doing. So social media boot camps, I started that this past year. I'm going to go forward with that again. Very good turnout. They really spoke very highly of that. I started blogging last year, going to continue doing that, probably even more than I did previously. And I also got my students involved in blogging, and such benefits in the reflection process. And I believe that that's going to prove to be good for them as well. And then just bridging motivation and learning, finding ways to do that. Finding ways to bring diversity and community into classrooms as well. One of my biggest passions.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing a lot of comments going in about different stakeholders such as parents and how important it is to definitely engage them and make sure that we're all on the same page. So awesome, Dean. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Definitely looking forward to all of 2017 has to offer for you.
Thank you, Sarah. And I'm definitely looking forward to it as well. Thank you much.
Awesome. All right, great. So we're going to go to the next chapter right now. We have Jody in the house. Hey, Jody. Hey, glad to have you here. So you wrote about empowering students, and so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Surely. I have taught elementary and middle school, and I'm currently the innovation and technology coach at a middle school. And with this position, I work with teachers to embed technology into their instruction, and I work with our technology team of students. And also, I do some work with our district on professional learning throughout the district.
All right, that is awesome. So what got you started on your journey to becoming an educator?
Sure. So I've always been very passionate about kind of changing the world, starting with students and children. I spent high school and college as an overnight camp counselor. And through that, I really was able to watch them become more confident human beings over the course of a month or a summer. And that was an incredible experience for me. And that really just kind of laid the groundwork, since I couldn't be a camp counselor for life. So I found education kind of through that. It was a really natural fit for me.
Absolutely. So what was the impetus to get you to write your chapter? Like how did you get the idea for your chapter?
Yeah, I think a lot of us are really moving either our classrooms or our schools to more student-driven places. And I'm really passionate about making school more about mirroring life and those authentic experiences so that our kids want to run into school and be just super excited about what's happening inside of our classrooms. And so for me, the way to this is empowering them, making it more about their voice and what makes them excited about it. So that just, again, it just kind of started writing about what was happening in our school and in classrooms.
Wow, absolutely. Okay. So do you have an anecdote that did not make it to your chapter?
Yeah, I mean, there had to be a cutoff at some point. So I wrote most of it over the summer. So lots of things have happened since then. Probably the most powerful was I wrote a proposal for our our state technology conference, GAETC here, and it was for our student tech team that I work with to go and do the student showcase and really talk about their work. They created themselves. They created our tech lab. They run it. It's truly a work of student empowerment and student voice, everything that they do. And so that didn't happen till after the draft and the second draft and so forth really went into the book. So that would be a great story, is just their creation of presenting and speaking to adults and all that went into that.
Oh, absolutely. That student voice piece is just phenomenal. So there's so many great things that you're doing. So what's on your radar for 2017?
Oh, goodness. Well, definitely continuing with the work that we've started, coaching and working with the district and working with my tech team and just kind of continuing the great momentum. Later this month, I will be at the Google Southern Summit, no summer in sight here, but Google Southern Summit presenting. And then we'll see from there. Hopefully more writing. Definitely, I think as with a lot of us, it has sparked something in me. So we'll see more writing, hopefully.
Awesome. Cannot wait to see that. So definitely looking forward to seeing everything that 2017 has in store for you. So thank you so much for joining us, Jody.
Yes, thank you.
All right. And we are going now to the next chapter, My Year of Yes, with Nicole Taylor. Hey, Nicole.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Doing well.
All right. Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Nicole Taylor. I am a wife, a mother to a new teenager. He just turned 13 Christmas Eve. And then I have 5-year-olds, a 5-year-old son and daughter who will be 6 on the 19th of this month. This is my 15th year as an educator. I originally went to school and got a degree in finance. My mother is a financial analyst, and my dad has been in education. He's worked for the same school district for 30 some odd years, almost 40 years. I just didn't think teachers made enough money, so I got a different degree, but I've known that I wanted to teach since 2nd grade. I had a phenomenal 2nd grade teacher, and I just knew I wanted to be just like her. Even before being in her classroom, my dad was a teacher, and I would ride the bus to his classroom in kindergarten. He would send a 5th grader out to pick me up from the bus, and in his room, it was just like magic. It was just like being in a whole different world. The kids loved him. If you meet my dad, he's always on, but in his classroom, he was like extra on. And I just knew, like, I want this. And I wrote a little bit about that in my chapter, just being around phenomenal educators, really starting with the one that I lived with at home. That just let me know that this is what I want to do with my life. I was just blessed to be surrounded by great educators, many of whom I keep in touch with still today, the good ones.
Absolutely. So I'm hearing that as a recurring theme about how these educators in our lives have inspired us to go into education. Absolutely. So how did you get the idea for your chapter about your Year of Yes?
So I met most of you here, I think on Twitter. I jumped on Twitter, but 2 years ago in February, jumped on Twitter, and I was on there, but I really wasn't using it. An organization that I work with, a state organization, they have a chat once a month, so I would jump on and chat. But I was actually in a chat and met a guy, Jason Oliver. He actually mentioned to me something about ACAMP, and the idea of being in a PD and no one telling me what I had to learn, being able to learn or share and kind of choose what I wanted to do. Just from that chat, I knew this is phenomenal. I've never been to one, but we have to have one in our area. So I started kind of talking to different people in my school districts and saying, hey, this EdCamp thing is going to be great. Let's start planning one. I've never been to one, but let's start planning one. The closest one that was coming up was 4 hours away in Houston. I drove to Houston, and Ed Camp really just kind of started that path of, I can decide, hey, Brad, you were at the Ed Camp. I actually saw Brad at that Ed Camp. That's where I met him. But being Ed Camp just kind of opened up my eyes to the fact that, you know what, I'm the one responsible for my professional growth. I've always, when the district has an initiative, I get behind it because I believe in my district. When my principal has an initiative, I get behind it because I want to show support for my leadership. But the idea that, hey, I can, voice my own interest in things that I want to do and try and give kids and students, that started with a Twitter chat. So from Twitter to Ed Camp to Voxer, and now I think Rochelle said it's kind of like out of control. It's just like when you start this path of discovery and learning, but it's a good out of control. I love to learn. I've always been a lover of learning, and now it's just like that part of my brain is just on fire. And the more that I learn, the more that I'm able to share with other teachers and share with students. So, it's a win-win.
Absolutely. Definitely a win-win, and a win for our students as well. So awesome. So do you have an anecdote that did not make it into your chapter that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. So just as I wrote the chapter, and I just looking back on when you grow and when you decide to grow, I've had a couple of incidents where, maybe I didn't feel as supported as I wanted to, but I decided just not to put that in there, but just maybe as a side note to say that when, a lot of times people don't get it, because they're just not there yet. Sometimes leadership or coworkers, they don't understand why you want to be in a Zoom meeting on Sunday, or why you are using your weekends to hop on a plane to go to a conference or to go to an Ed Camp, spend gas. But I think in due time, people do get it when they see your growth and they see the things that you're able to offer and give to students.
That is the truth. The testimony is our growth as educators. Absolutely. So, all right. So 2017, what is on your radar this year?
This year, like Ray, I am a doctoral student. So lots of reading and studying and writing papers. I'm just working on my coursework. But I've also gotten this writer's bug. So I want to kind of explore. I really just had fun with writing this chapter, treated it just like a really long blog post, and just was able to kind of get my ideas out there. But now in my coursework studies, I'm kind of digging a little deeper as far as research is concerned. And I really want to kind of explore the idea of personalized professional development as well as personalized coaching. I just kind of want to dig into that a little deeper and write. I'm still writing. I'm writing, and I find it to be a lot of fun. So hopefully, fingers crossed and toes crossed, you can't see my toes. Hopefully I can turn this chapter into a book. That's what I'm working on.
That is awesome, Nicole. Cannot wait to see it come to light for you in 2017. Awesome stuff. So really looking forward to hearing and seeing all about it. So great. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to jump next to Valerie because she's going to have to go in a little bit. But Valerie, definitely wanted to welcome you here. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you. Can you hear me clear?
Yep, we can hear you loud and clear. So awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Valerie Lewis, an educator of 16 years, originally from Miami, Florida, and I am married with 3 little ones, and I teach language arts 11th and 12th grade special education.
All right. Definitely keeping your hands full. So what inspired you to be an educator?
You know what? Kind of like most of everyone here, I had a strong foundation in education from those teachers that started me off. There, kindergarten through 3rd grade, I was met with some powerhouse women in education that were firm. They knew their stuff. They were disciplined, and I wanted to please them. Coming from a West Indian background, my mom and my dad are of Haitian descent, but I came from a single parent home. It was important for my mom that her children have a quality education. And so although she only had a third grade education herself, she made sure that those old school Encyclopedia Britannica sets from back in the days, that was like mom's homework for us when we got home. So education was always the standard in my household.
Absolutely. And I was jumping in the comments saying, oh my goodness, that sounds so familiar, because my parents are also Haitian, so definitely can relate. So, all right. So how did you get the idea for your chapter?
You know what? In 2016, there, like Nicole and many others here, we all got a chance to meet each other on Twitter or through Voxer. And so one evening, the five of us was Sarah, Nicole, Tatul, who else was there? There was one more. I forget who the fifth person was, but we were all talking about, wouldn't it be neat if we could kind of showcase the cool side of educators? A lot of times educators are seen as that old grumpy woman with the ugly sweater on and the stick, and educators have no lives and they're boring. And we were like, you know what, we're cool, we're human, we have a sense of humor, we do really neat and cool things as well. And so we were talking about I believe it was the battle rap, and I think Nicole and Tatul wanted to battle rap against each other, and we were thinking, how can we show the cool side of education to teachers everywhere, and not just to teachers everywhere, but to the world? And so was born the idea for Pass the Scope EDU. And so with that idea, the chapter was inspired by that one big concept that almost seemed like moonshot thinking, that has grown to something that we recognize to be very powerful. So I titled the chapter Beyond the Scope, which means go beyond the thing that you even think is possible. Try to see that thing that may not even be in reach. And despite the naysayers and those that doubt you and those that say, oh, this is impossible, or that's a ridiculous idea, go beyond the scope, beyond what you even think possible for yourself. And if you align yourself with the tribe of people that believe, like our EduMatch squad, they will help you reach your goal. You'll have a support system, you'll have a backbone. And so that was the inspiration. That was the one thing for me in 2016 that I can say that I'm really proud of. And there are other things, but I'm really proud of that. And I think that it was symbolic to say, just go beyond the classroom walls. That pineapple chart where you can go and visit a teacher's classroom. Well, that's not always realistic for us throughout the school day. And so what a neat way to use Periscope and this tool to kind of say, wow, when I get home in the evening, I could watch what happened in someone's class from Argentina, or I can watch what happened in Ghana and Hawaii. And not only that, we're teaching our students to be global citizens and not just to be so self-absorbed, but they learn about culture and they learn about the world around them. And yes, we may speak different languages, our skin tones may be different, the foods that we eat may be different in the clothes that we wear, but we do also share a lot of similarities as well. And so there was just a lot for me that went into writing this chapter. And if I could rewrite it, there's so much more that I would put into that chapter. But that was the concept and the inspiration.
Nice. So it sounds like we have a part 2 coming our way, huh?
Possibly.
Absolutely. All right, cool. So what else is on your radar for 2017?
You know what? Just keep in the fight, keep in the race. I don't see another profession for me. Even if I were to step out of the classroom, I would always be connected to education in some capacity. And so for me, 2017, I just want to help my students reach goals that they hadn't reached before. I want to continue to look at the data and not teach to the test, but just build in my students the confidence that those things that weren't possible for them before, those things that frustrated them the most, are now a little bit easier, and they're one step step closer. They may not perform on district level or what maybe the building admin would like for them to be, but I want them to focus on, but you're not where you were yesterday, and you're not where you were a month ago. And so for me, that is what I'm taking into 2017, to continue to move the pieces on the chessboard and to know that I'm not the educator that I was last week or last month or last year, and just continue to move forward, take baby steps, and whatever will be, will be.
I love it. I love it. Constant growing. We're not the same person as we were last week or yesterday. Just continuing to grow. Love that. So thank you so much, Valerie.
Thank you, guys, and have a great afternoon, everyone.
All right. You too. You too. Thank you. All right. So now we're going to circle back and go to chapter number 13, Shifting the Culture to Embrace Change, a roller coaster approach to education, with Christy. How you doing, Christy?
Hey, Sarah. Hey, everyone. I'm doing great.
Awesome. Awesome. So great to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up in Tennessee. I'm a Southern girl through and through, and got transplanted to Texas. And I currently am, what's in a title, right? That's what we all have to be honest about. My title is a digital innovation consultant. What I love about that title is it gives me carte blanche for most people in education to do whatever I want to do and come back and share. But I work in West Texas. Now, for those of you who are not in Texas, if you look at the map and see Abilene, most people will say, that's not West Texas. West is out there by El Paso. But I'm west of the I-35 corridor, and so we are called West Texas. I work with 42 rural school districts, and that one-room school concept totally still exists. I have one district, pre-K through 12, that only has 92 students. The largest district has about 17,000. But I love the variety of getting to work with multiple people and in multiple situations in education.
Wow, so you definitely have the whole spectrum. So what made you want to get into education?
So many have already voiced some of the truth. I think that's interesting, the connection we all have. I was a minister's kid and an educator's kid. And I can tell you right now, I was not going into education. Two main reasons. They put up with a lot of stuff and do a lot of things in the background that nobody has a clue about, and they make no money. So this girl was not going to go into education, because why would I do that? That would be like torture. So I went the business route, got a business degree, but education found me because God had a plan, and I was born into that plan, and that plan included education. My father was an educator and a principal, where his father had been a principal 30 years before. My father served in an assistant superintendent type role in the same district that ultimately his father several years before had served in a capacity very similar. My mom's a teacher. My brother's a coach. My sister-in-law's a teacher. My aunt's a teacher. My uncle's a teacher. And the reality is that was in my blood, and I know it. And so as I decided to move to Texas and was going to share living expenses with a college roommate who, she was going to be an elementary teacher. I had a business degree. I was going into business. I helped her put up a bulletin board before her school year started, her first year, and I got offered K through 5th grade physical education. And I'm like, I'm not a teacher. Why are you offering me a job? School starts in 2 days and we need a warm body. You have a warm body and you're here. Would you be interested in starting the school year? We'll let you go and work on your job, that whole business thing you think you're going to do. And that's how I actually got my first foot in the door of being in a classroom style setting. With my brother being a coach, I had a lot of resources. And a lot of people don't have connections and resources when they first start in education, but I was born with resources. I ended up getting 2 master's degrees in education after I spent a little bit of time in the business world. And oddly enough, because of my minor and my undergraduate degree in French, Sarah, I taught high school French in Memphis. From there, I moved back to Texas, and I taught a variety of things in a private school, because you can do that in private schools, including English, and did a little history, got another degree in history, and oddly, that business degree when you get a business certification, they think you're the computer person. And so when computers started coming into the schools, hey, you need to teach, you're the computer lady. And the computer lady turned into, hey, math class got these Promethean things. Can you go down the hall and help them? Well, I don't have them in my class, but okay. And so the evolution of where I am in education was never on my radar from day one. But looking back, I can see how every step of the way contributed to the next step.
Absolutely. It all just kind of stacks up and falls in line. That is the truth. Okay. So how did you get the idea for your chapter?
Well, much like education, my chapter came to me. I did not go seeking to write a chapter. Confession, the former English teacher in me does not like to write. I have tried so many times to get on the blogging bandwagon, and I don't like to do it. I don't like it. But I do believe in reflection and the power of reflection and the power of words. I'm a talker. I'm a speaker. I could talk to you all day long, but having to articulate it into a written form is not fluid for me. But what I found in this particular chapter and in this particular moment, the idea came to me because I was simply asked to assist with a district. And at the point of writing this chapter, I was nearing the end of a 3-year commitment in working with a district and trying to help them shift their culture from the education system and how it's always been set up to a spot where a lot of people want to go to but don't have a clue how to get there. We are in a system that most of us in this group always push against because we believe in the value of process and what the process can do with learning. But our education system recognizes the product, the final grade, the test score. Let me see what you did, not how did you get to this point. And this district I've been working with after 3 years was at a point that if anybody just picked up a piece of data to look at, they would say, well, I don't think anything's shifted or changed much in this district. But I recognized through reflection, so many things had changed throughout the process. And it was important for me to reflect on that process moving forward and helping other districts, but also to be able to help those people I was working with and participating with to value their process and to not get bogged down in what the system seems to say in education about we can only reward the final product or the final grade or the final test score. So that's kind of where, I literally had put a date on my calendar for you, Sarah, to write this chapter, and in 2 days, I had way more than 5,000 words. And so if you read my chapter, you'll see these little dots or ellipses, and people, my editor even said, why'd you use all those dots? Nobody does that. And I said, I didn't know how to say that there were so many other things I was supposed to say right here, and I didn't have time to say it.
That makes sense. Yes, there was so much great information in that chapter, and I love the roller coaster metaphor. That was really, really cool. All right, so was there an anecdote that didn't make it to your chapter?
Well, obviously, there was a lot of things that didn't make it to my chapter. But if I could articulate anything to the reader who doesn't know me, who doesn't know the EduMatch concept, who doesn't know how much we value each other in collaboration, I would have to say that the relationship established far outweighed anything that I could write down on a piece of paper as a word, that you cannot describe a connection that people have because of similar experiences, because of shared goals, and because of being able to have something that you seek and you run with together to try to get there, regardless of where you are in that moment. And so I just think relationship could not be written in. And if I could explain the value behind that and how some of those teachers and even that administrator that I discussed in the book have helped me develop some things that are coming next in my world, and still are people I point to and run to because of what we worked on together.
Absolutely. And people are just commenting on how your passion is just so...
I have to go read later.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so what is on the horizon for you in 2017?
Well, I think that in my job, I do a lot of professional development with teachers, and what I discovered through writing this chapter and working with this superintendent is that leadership, and I think we all have articulated this before, is key to progression for most of our teachers because of the system. That if they don't have a supportive leader, or they don't have a leader that's leading them down a path, they have a hard time jumping off that cliff, unless they're the crazies like we are that say, hey, we're going to do it anyway. And so I realize there's value in my working with administrators to help them get passionate beyond red tape and things to turn into the State Department and how we're going to meet the next rating level that's before us. And so as a result, I've focused a lot this past fall and into this coming year on working with administrators. And I know, Sarah, we've talked before, EduMatch spurred a little light bulb moment for me, and I have set up something called WWW, which is Waffles and Wi-Fi on Wednesday. And it's nothing but every other Wednesday, I invite administrators from all over my region to come, and I fix breakfast. We have waffles, and they talk. They just collaborate. And I didn't know if anybody would come. They're busy, that type of thing. But I think I had 60-something administrators, that's superintendents, principals, or curriculum directors, to drive in over the fall semester. And my furthest drove 2 hours just to have a hour-long breakfast to talk to another superintendent 150 miles the other direction to say, really, y'all are doing that at your district? And for this semester, my first one coming up will be January 18th, and we're talking about being districts of innovation and what that means. So that's huge that they tell me topics they want to discuss, and would anybody else come support me? And so that's going to be big as a push for me. I'm even thinking about working on my Google Innovators concept around how does Google affect the administrator, not just the teacher or student, and how can that tool be embraced for them? I'm working with AR, VR. Jamie Donnelly, many of us know her. If you are in Texas, or even if you're not in Texas, April 26th, Jamie's coming to work with me and some of those same teachers, and it's free if you can get here with me. And we're going to play like crazy. I have South by Southwest coming up. I have ISTE. I can't wait to meet you, all of you. I hope every one of you get to come. And so, yeah, I don't have a clue really what twist and turn will happen next, but I am running full speed and hoping I run smack dab into some of you.
Love it. Love it. Cannot wait to hear about all the great things that this new year will bring for you. So thank you so much for joining us, Christy.
Yes.
All right. So next chapter, we have all I really need to know about professional development I learned at camp. Welcome, Leslie.
Hey, y'all. I am so excited to be here with y'all today. I get really excited when I get with this group because, I don't know, y'all are just fun people, and I secretly like to have fun. Everybody thinks that I'm serious and uptight, but I'm really not. So this is a fun group for me.
Oh, we know the real deal. We know all about the Faginator. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, the Faginator's here.
Yes. Yay for the Faginator. So tell us about yourself, Leslie.
I am an instructional technology coach in Griffin, Georgia, about 45 minutes south of Atlanta. It's an awesome job for me. This is, I think, my third year. Before that, I taught high school and middle school English, and I also worked for the Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club as the Director of Education, and I did about 5 years for the Girl Scouts. This is my third career, and it is by far my most favorite career, just because I get to do a variety of things and come in contact with some phenomenal people. So I'm blessed in what I do.
That is awesome. Awesome, Leslie. So what inspired you to get into education?
Well, I think because I'm, as far down in the group as with the order of the authors, everybody else has been inspired by their teachers. And I was inspired by my teachers, but when I was a little girl, although I played school and I made my brother be my student, he didn't have a choice. He's 4 years younger than I am. So I got to boss him around a good bit. I loved learning and I loved going to school, but when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a Supreme Court justice. I can argue with anybody, and I think that frustrated the heck out of my parents and my teachers and my classmates and everybody, but I just knew I was going to be a lawyer. So I went to college and studied political science and pre-law, but that's not what I was supposed to do. And when I was in college, I thought back to the experiences I had in school, because I did a lot of things in college where I was working with kids and doing community service, and I realized that's really what I wanted to do, was to work with kids and be involved with my community, because I think that a lot of times our kids don't have they don't have caring adults in their lives. And if I could be that person for somebody, and I think back to when I was in 5th grade, I don't know if I told y'all this or not, but my dad was in the Army. And when I started 5th grade, we had already moved 6 times. So on my first day of school, I remember going in, and we had just moved to the military academy at West Point, and my classroom was on the 2nd floor of the building. And I walked in, and I was scared. I didn't know what to expect. I had no friends. And I was just like, I'm tired of moving. I hate this. And my teacher was standing at the door. And I remember I had my book bag, and I had a Benji lunchbox because I love Benji. And it was that baby blue color, and it had the picture of Benji from that movie. And yeah, I'm dating myself. I'll be 48 in April. But I had my Benji lunchbox, and my teacher put her arms around me. And Mrs. Hoy is my Facebook friend now. She was a classroom teacher for 38 years. And she made me feel so safe and so welcome. When I thought about being a teacher, I said, I want to be that person for somebody. If I can help one kid feel like this is where they belong, then I've done my job. And I would like to think that although I'm no longer in the classroom, that I gave that feeling to a kid just like Mrs. Hoy did. And that's why I'm a teacher. Even though I'm not teaching kids now and I'm teaching adults, you can't beat that feeling. And if I had become a Supreme Court justice, I'd be making a lot of money, and I'd have a Secret Service detail or bodyguards and all that other cool stuff. But this is way better. I mean, I'm poor, but I'm guessing because all of us are educators, you know what that's like too. So I'm in good company. That's why I became an educator, and that's still why I'm an educator.
That is awesome, Leslie. That is awesome. So we are glad that you are here with us in education. So how did you get the idea for your chapter?
Well, the next year when I was in the 6th grade, a lot of the kids at school talked about going to summer camp, and I had always wanted to go to camp. I remember watching, and I'm glad my parents didn't send me to this kind of camp, but if y'all remember that movie Meatballs, I wanted to go to camp. But thankfully that's not the kind of camp I went to. But my dad, you know, he made an agreement. My dad is not the kind of person who is just going to hand you something. You have to work for it, because he just doesn't like giving his money away. He's very stingy with it. So he said, if you maintain a B average, I'll send you to camp. My brother and sister, not so much into making good grades, but I did it, so I got to go to camp. Had a phenomenal time. Well, maybe a year or two ago, I wrote a blog post, and I just took that blog post and extended it into my chapter, because I really believe that the things that I learned as a camper when I was 11 or 12 years old, those same lessons can be transferred into what teachers need to learn, or anybody in education. When my parents sent me off to camp, although I'm a middle child and I'm probably more independent than they would have liked, going off to camp teaches kids how to be independent. You're in a cabin, your mom's not there, you have a schedule, but you have a lot of responsibility to take care of yourself for the week or 2 weeks, or however, if you're there all summer long, you have that responsibility. As teachers, we have that same responsibility to figure out how to make things work in our classrooms. So if I could take the lessons learned from being a camper, and then later on when I went to work at Camp Woodmont as a freshman in college, and some other experiences, and take those same lessons and relate them to being a teacher, then I can share that knowledge. And that's what I wanted to do. When I went to camp, I learned about, you know, having fun. I learned about being reflective, because every afternoon we had to sit on our beds. And this was in the early 80s, so there was no email. And I had to write letters to my parents. My parents wrote letters to me, and I told them all about what I was doing. When I worked at Camp Woodmont every afternoon, and I had the little girls in my cabin, so I had to read to them. Do y'all remember Punky Brewster? That show. Well, they had a book, Punky Brewster Goes to Camp. So every afternoon I'm reading my girls those books, and we're talking about, you know, what are we going to do the next day? What do you want to do when you grow up? Trying to keep them from being homesick, differentiation. Okay, you can go do this, you can go do that. Teachers need the same thing. So I just took all of that and put it in my chapter, and hopefully I mean, I think my chapter is awesome. I'll just be honest and put it out there. But hopefully somebody else out there is going to get something from my chapter. And there's actually a picture when I went to camp from 1980 or something like that. The very first picture in my chapter is from when I went to camp. Awesome experience. So like I said, I just hope somebody, oh yes, Sarah, I don't have a copy of the book, but that was me standing in front of the cabin the very last day of camp. So yeah, that's why I wrote my chapter, and I'm hoping that you all will enjoy it. So we'll see what happens with it.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, that chapter is everything. Okay, so tell us an anecdote that didn't make it to your chapter.
I think because I am a middle child and also because I live alone, I spend a lot of time reflecting. And I would like to have put just a little bit more in there about reflection, because I think we grow. There's a lot of growth to be had when you stop and think about what it is you're doing and where you want to go. And several years ago, I'm also a Boy Scout volunteer in my free time. And there is an honor society for campers called the Order of the Arrow. And in order to become a full-fledged member of the OA, you have to do what they call an ordeal. And there's 3 things that you have to do. You spend 24 hours not talking. You spend the night alone in the woods by yourself. And I'm seeing these faces and you folks are like, oh my gosh. And then the 3rd thing is you get scant food. Well, when you're spending the night alone in the woods by yourself, and you seriously are, there's a group of people and you have a pocket knife, a sleeping bag, and a flashlight, and that's all you get. So they drop you off by yourself in the woods and you spend the night and you're not talking, so you're just reflecting. And for that time that I was out there by myself in my sleeping bag with nothing to eat, I thought about my experiences in Boy Scouts, and because I got in for my nephew. He was a scout and I wanted him to have a good experience, but at the same time, because I'm an overachiever, I wanted to have a good experience. So for those 8 hours or so that I was outside, it was like, okay, Leslie, this is what you've done and this is what you can do. Well, now, you know, it's been almost 20 years since I've been involved. I think the time that I spent out in the woods by myself thinking and reflecting about what I could contribute. My nephew's now an Eagle Scout, and most of the boys in my troop were Eagle Scouts. They're grown men, and when I see them, they say the same thing. Thank you for staying on me. Thank you for stepping up. So something good came from my time out there on the side of a mountain by myself in the dark in the woods. I think I should have put that in there, but, you know, it was the last night that the book chapters were due, and it was time to turn it in. So maybe next go around.
Definitely. We need the sequel about that night in the woods. Oh my goodness. That is crazy. All right. So what's on your radar for 2017?
Like Jody, I will be at the GAIF, or it's not GAIF anymore, the G Suite Summit in Fayetteville at the end of the month. I'm presenting, my session title is Google Tour Builder. There's always a story to tell. I will be presenting at ISTE this summer, and I am finishing up a proposal for NCTE, the National Councils of Teachers of English, finishing up that proposal hopefully today if I can tear myself away from Netflix and Hawaii Five-0. And also on a personal note, and I'm just putting it out there because I need good thoughts, I am in the process of trying to adopt. And as you all know, state agencies are not always the most efficient. So if you all could send good thoughts, good prayers my way that I get my child at some point, because I'm anxious and I really want him to be at ISTE so that he can play on the playgrounds and meet my phenomenal people in EduMatch. So yes, that's what's on my, oh, and also I'm like Demetrius, I want my kid to be on camera with me. So yeah, so that's what Leslie has planned for this year.
Wow, that is awesome. We are definitely wishing you the best on that. That is just amazing. So great, great, great. Can't wait to hear all about it when it happens. So definitely keeping you in our thoughts. All right. So thank you for joining us, Leslie. Chapter 15 about why ed camps are the new professional development. Spoiler alert, ed camps rock. Okay. Chapter 16, invest in yourself and your students. Demetrius, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. Thank you so much. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am an educator, of 9 years now. I am a husband and father. This is my youngest son, Nathaniel, and I had to turn the fan on to keep him occupied. But yeah, he's 10 months and he's a ball of energy, just like all my kids are. But yeah, so this is my first year as an assistant principal. I started the school year at an elementary school, but now during the second semester, we go back to school tomorrow from the break, and it'll be really like my first full week as an assistant principal at the high school level. So all my teaching background is at the high school level. So yeah, I'm excited to get back to high school, and yeah, I'm originally from Ohio. I moved all over the place. I spent time in the Army, and so I've been coast to coast and overseas and those types of things. After I left the Army, I got into education, and I have no plans of looking back.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it was great having you in our state when we had you in Maryland. Now you're in California. So what brought you to education?
So I was, like many of you said earlier, teachers were the ones that really inspired me. I mean, my coaches, my principal. I had the same principal from 7th grade, middle school, all the way through high school. And she was like my mom at school. And the way that she was an example for all the staff, and she was everywhere, and she was in classrooms, in the hallways, at after-school events, and just there to love on us. And that's what, all of my teachers and coaches did, and they just really inspired me. And I said, you know what, I want to do that. I want to be that example. And kind of like I mentioned before, my plan was to go to college, get my teaching credential, come back to my hometown, teach, and then eventually, take my principal's place. But I had the opportunity to go to West Point. Leslie, we got a connection there. So I went from high school to West Point, spent 5 years in the Army. And my last year in the Army, actually probably, I started working on my master's in secondary education about 3 years before I was getting out. So I knew that I was going to eventually get out and get into education. So that's what I started working on. And so, yeah, I actually, I bought a copy of the book and signed it and sent it to my principal. She is still my mentor. So, I wrote in there, just hopefully this isn't the last publication that I have. So, and just thanking her for her example and leadership.
That is awesome. And I know that she was thrilled to receive it. So how did you get the idea for your chapter?
About, I guess it would be two years ago, I think it actually started from the first Ed Camp Voice, when I started getting connected on Voxer. And one of the groups that I joined, someone was mentioning about a book study called about Beyond the Bake Sale. The book by Nancy Henderson. And so I joined the Voxer book study, and I really dug into that book, and I just really enjoyed what I read. And so that happened, I guess, 2 springs ago now. And so I think I picked up maybe 5 other books over that summer, and just was really digging in and just really inspired about how important it is to make connections with families and communities, really bring them into the classroom, bring them into the school. And so, just that reading that I spent over that summer just really impacted me. And I said, you know what, I think, this is really important, and that, if you can, as an educator, take that time to, invest in reading. And I mean, all of us in here, I'm sure, participated in ed camps and some form of professional development, and I think everyone in here knows that, we're in charge of that. It's our responsibility. The stuff that our districts do isn't necessarily going to be stuff that, we're focused on, stuff that we want to do. So it's incumbent upon us to really dig into what we're passionate about. And so my chapter is really about, taking that time and, using your summers. We don't have a whole lot of time in the summers, but, and it just doesn't have to be in the summer. It could be, any time where you find something new and are able to, apply that in your classroom and make your classroom better. And I think, again, everybody in here is all about that. So I guess I'm preaching to the choir on that one.
That is awesome. That is awesome, Demetrius. So do you have an anecdote that did not make it to your chapter?
I think one of the biggest things that I learned through all the reading that I did, and it really helped my classroom. It really helped me as an individual. It helped me even as a parent, just to understand how important it is that the teachers take initiative and engage with families. And I got a ton of feedback. I mean, at the secondary level, high school, there's a huge drop off because, parents are used to getting a lot of communications with the school and with the teachers of their kids when they're in elementary school. But once you get to the secondary level, all that communication really drops off. And so, through the reading that I did, I just found that was super important. And all the different things that I tried based on my readings, I got a ton of great feedback from parents. I mean, I have at least 40 emails from parents saying that they appreciated the communication and all the different things that their kids were able to bring home, and saying that their kids were talking about what they did in Mr. Ball's class and they don't talk about school at home. So I mean, that's what it's all about, helping kids find that passion and really enjoy what they're doing. They're spending 7 hours a day at school, and hopefully most of that is enjoyable time. So getting the feedback from the parents was really awesome.
Absolutely. That stakeholder voice is so important, especially when it comes to parents and the students themselves. Absolutely. So what can we expect to see from you in 2017, Demetrius?
So, as I mentioned before, I have a lot on my plate, keeping up with these guys, and, I'm joining a new school, and I'm really looking forward to, seeing how I can be an asset to my new school community. But, I mentioned before when we tried this the first time, about my idea to continue writing, continue connecting. I'm really into leadership and sharing my leadership ideas. So hopefully I can turn, some of my previous stories into, a book or two, at least maybe get that started during 2017. So that's where I'm going, and I continue to want to stay connected. Over the last semester, unfortunately, my participation in EduMatch Boxer group kind of went down, but hopefully I'll be able to pick that back up and connect with all of you, even more this coming year.
Absolutely. And we are definitely looking forward to that as well. So thank you so much for joining us, Demetrius, and keep up.
Both, thank you.
Yeah. And keep up the great work. Oh man, we love Nathaniel. We're Nathaniel fans here. That's his name, right?
That's right.
All right. Yes, we are Nathaniel fans. We are Nathaniel fans in the house. All right. Great. You. So now we are going to take a stroll down to chapter 21 and hear about one rural teacher's journey to passionate teaching with Tammy Neal. How you doing, Tammy?
I'm doing pretty good, Sarah. How are you?
Doing great, thanks. Very glad to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Unlike Leslie, I have already hit year number 48. Did that in 2016. Very proud of the numbers because life experiences really do add up to who you are. So I have a whole lot of experience. I teach computer science in a rural North Florida school district, tiny little school. We're a 612 school. I did the math earlier today. I've done 3 years at the elementary level, 12 years teaching math, 8 years as the media specialist, and now 3 years as computer science. And that really gives me a wide variety of a background. I get to see a little bit of everything. Learning how to, being a media specialist taught me how to incorporate literature into mathematics. And, that's, kind of different for us math people, Definitely never expected to be an author of a book. Very excited about that. We'll see where all that goes this year, but very excited to be here.
We are excited to have you. So what inspired you to become an educator, Tammy?
Well, like a lot of people here, a teacher. When I started kindergarten, I had a teacher who, she was only there for a semester. She took the second semester to have a child. But Mrs. Turk really did. I came home from kindergarten and told my mom I wanted to be a teacher. And then years later, met this really wonderful lady who ultimately turned into my mother-in-law. Was the first teacher I ever met that wasn't my teacher, and just, learned lots and lots and lots from her. And she really was my first educational mentor. And miss her a lot. I really do. But so grateful that she taught me some. She was a special needs and ESE teacher, and she taught me, kind of demanded that I pay attention to those kids as well and not let them slip through the crack. So, I kind of always knew I was going to teach. I just didn't always know what I was going to teach. And so I think that's a lot of us. We've got to find that spot that fits us well. So, that's me in a nutshell. I'm very open, very public.
And that is so awesome. We learned so much from you, Tammy. So how did you get the idea for your chapter?
Well, about 5 years ago, I changed school districts. And here in Florida, changing school districts means that you give up your continuing contract, which was the closest thing to tenure that we have. And I was really burnt out at that point. I was really wondering if I was going to retire from teaching. My daughter had graduated high school, dealing with that empty nest syndrome. I mean, there was a lot of factors that came into that change that summer, and became a solo silo. Only algebra teacher on my end of the county. It was very hard to connect with the other teachers just because of the logistics of it. I mean, we really didn't do a whole lot of video conferencing or anything like that. So just the physicality of trying to get together with someone from another end of the district was tough. So we really were on our own. And this is my story. This is how I woke up. This is how the good Lord put the people in my path that I needed when I needed them, and He continues to do that with all these wonderful people that we've written this book with, and so many others. Oh my gosh, there are so many people that I've connected with. Some of them are mentioned in the chapter. There are so many. I can't mention them all. I mean, Sarah, you understand this. I think everybody on the book chat today understands this. Every educator that I come in contact with, even if it's just a small little conversation, either inspires me to step up again or shares something that I get to tweak to do something different in my classroom, or just really encourages us in one way or another. And that alone is so valuable. And that's the thing that keeps me wanting to do this, keeps me, people ask me, I've got 26 years in the system. People ask me, so when are you going to retire? I was like, I don't want to retire. What do you mean retire? I'm not going to retire. I'm not even 50 yet. What are you talking about retiring? So, the idea is trying to get, really wanting to share that with others. And hopefully people see that when they read the chapter.
Absolutely. And I'm confident that they will. Absolutely. So 2017, what can we expect to see from Tammy Neal in 2017?
Well, like everybody else, I've got the writing bug, so there's some other writing opportunities already on store. I got to looking at it. There are 7 ed camps in the state of Florida between now and June 10th, which is Ed Camp Magic. So Ed Camp Orange, January 28th. Those of you coming to FETC, it's the Saturday attached to FETC. So just stay over and go home on Saturday. Okay. March 4th is Ed Camp St. Augustine. March 25th is, I don't know if anybody else knows, March 25th, Ed Camp Treasure Coast. Jessica Jessica Falco is running that one. April 1st is Ed Camp Hillsborough. April 22nd is the one at my school, Ed Camp Branford. May 5th through the 7th, there's an Ed Camp Leadership Summit in Tampa Bay. And then June 10th is Ed Camp Magic. FETC in January. And this summer, I think I'm going to rest. Wow. I think I'm going to take some me time this summer. But who knows? Who knows? I think it's all me time. Every time I connect with you guys, I really do it because I'm selfish and this energizes me. And so, yeah, I'll be camping all year, Tia. Yep, I'm going to have, Yep. I love the energy that I get connecting to teachers here in the area and watching the inspiration happen. You know, as much as we watch our kids and we get excited when they get that spark, you know, watching other educators get that spark is just as exciting to me. And when you know, that moment when other educators realize that they are in charge of their own learning, that moment when whoever the student is, when we wake up and we realize, wait a minute, yes, the district has PD that they have to give, but that's not all I want to learn. I want to learn more. So I am looking for as many of those moments as I can capture in 2017. As many of those moments as I can capture.
I love that. Love it. Yes, absolutely. That is fantastic. And I'm sure that there will be many, many, many of them with all that you've got going on. So that is awesome. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us, Tammy. Appreciate that. All right. Now I learned my lesson last time. So I know that I'm going to have to interview myself or y'all are going to get me. So, all right. So chapter 22 is those magical moments. Speaking of magical moments, so piggybacking off of Tammy, it's a natural segue about magical moments. So let me see. So about myself, I am a 12-year educator, many, many more to come in the lovely Prince George's County Public Schools, sitting right across from Tectia. I see in that window right over there. Also, very excited to be part of this EduMatch movement. I've learned so much. Somebody asked me a couple days ago, like, why EduMatch? And really, my reason was that, you know, this group of people that you see in front of you, this is a group of people that I wished I had year one when I was teaching, and that would have just made everything so much easier. Christy, I love what you said. Why not EduMatch? Yes. So definitely learning, growing together, and you know, in year 12, still learning and growing. I mean, as Tammy was saying, I don't want to retire, and just continuing to learn and to grow and just be better. So what inspired me to be an educator? So like many of y'all were saying, I did not start off in education. I started off as a radio, TV, film major. And by the time I finished with that, my mom had just started in the classroom. She started teaching middle school French and going over there, helping her set up her bulletin board. I think Christy also talked about bulletin boards. So yeah, it's always the bulletin boards that get you every time. So helping her set up the bulletin board. And she reminded me that one of her colleagues that was there, that was doing a lot of audiovisual stuff. And I said, I hope that one day, you know, I get to do something like you. And so now I get to be a regional technology coordinator. So yay. So it all worked out. Let me see. In terms of the idea for the chapter, just pretty much the first chapter wrote itself. It was the blog post that said how EduMatch got created. And the last chapter was just kind of a where we've been. So hopefully we will continue projects like this. Hopefully you'll see a snapshot 2017. And in that, you know, we'll see where we've come in the scope of a year. And I have to say, there's so many great things on the horizon. Like some of them, I always get paranoid about speaking too early about things not happening when you speak them up. But let me just say right now, there are so many great things in the air. And I'm looking forward to having them come to fruition in 2017. So double duty. I just answered question 5.
So Sarah,
Yes, ma'am.
was there an anecdote that you did not include in your chapter that you'd like to share? You know I have to always get you. I gotta get you.
Absolutely. Okay. I will give one, and I will omit the names of the individuals. The innocent shall be protected. But the night before EduMatch started, so this was September 25th, 2014. The match idea was already kind of sort of in my head because I had a friend who was moving out of town, an educator friend who is an EduMatch. So again, the name shall be withheld, but the educator was moving from Virginia to go elsewhere. So on the last night, then, we went and got dinner after cleaning out the storage unit. And, we just got to talking. We were just like, well, there should be something out there that, connects educators. But at that time, we're thinking about like dating wise because we're both single. So match kind of burned into my brain. So the next day when on Voxer with my other friend, who I will name, Franz, and we were chatting about gamification in math and how she reminded me of what my cousin had said. Then when I was coming up with the name, I was just like, match, EduMatch. So that's kind of where the name came from.
That's really awesome. Funny story, and we will openly admit that people will remain innocent until posted on social media. That's normally the rule. That's how it goes.
That's right. I will never reveal my sources.
So Sarah, we know you have a lot going on as usual. So what can we see, not just from EduMatch, because we know it's a big part of your life, but what can we see from the future Dr. Sarah Thomas in 2017?
Well, hopefully that's first and foremost. So trying to finish this year. Finish was my 2016 word, but I will reapply it. Finish. And let me see what else. Excited about, this summer, anytime I get to connect with fellow educators, so be that on a local or statewide or national or global level, just excited about those opportunities. And other than that, seeing where this publishing venture goes. A lot of you have said that you are interested in writing books, so definitely hoping to collaborate further in that arena as well.
That is awesome. And of course, just as the last time, I would be remiss if I did not reiterate, especially what I heard from many of the co-authors last time, just about how just awesome this experience was and how it's just kind of opened up the doors and the windows and ignited passions, and we've all been bitten by writing bugs now, just by having this collaborative project that EduMatch has started. So we are truly thankful for the opportunity and look forward to what EduMatch has in store for 2017 and beyond. So thank you, and thank you again.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all. You all are amazing. So big shout out to everyone in the room. Big shout out to everyone who's watching. Big shout out to everyone who supported us and cheered us along the way. As we took this leap of faith this past year, none of us knew that this was going to 100% guaranteed work out. So definitely got to thank you all for taking that leap of faith and, definitely trying something new. So thank you to everyone who is here. Thank you to everyone who's going to be watching this later. The book is available. You can find it as a free PDF download at edumatch.org, or you can search it on Amazon and you will find it available in black and white and color versions, as well as on Kindle. So definitely excited for that. Also wanted to give a shout out to our friends at EdChange Global Classrooms, coming your way February 28th and 29th. So check them out as well. Great opportunity to connect with other educators around the world. So on the very last page of the book, if you want to get involved with this, let me see. Yeah. Well, not the very last page, but the next to the last page of the book, then there is a place that takes you right to this URL. It's going to look a little different because this is a proof copy, but you just type in this URL and you can submit an interest form if you're interested in writing a chapter yourself. So again, check out more information on edumatch.org. So definitely wanted to thank everyone again and wish you all a happy 2017. Yay. All right. Going to stop the recording.